Sean here, and we're going to talk about Mr. Passive Aggressive, the owner and proprietor of the Trailer of Failure, the Cornville Condom Company, Lorne Armstrong. See, Lorne is the master of passive aggressive. In a way, when I say master, I mean his epic failure of passive aggressive techniques. We are going to talk about how to deal with them, how to confront Lorne, because basically someone who's passive aggressive, and you know when Lorne did this. Let's use this example. The Winnie massage call. She's getting a deep tissue massage. And Lorne, and I've told you this is infuriating. He's, yeah, I trust you. Just, hope you don't have sex. And, Debbie's trying to get you laid. I trust you. Doing everything in his power to guilt trip her into not doing it. Doing everything in his power to try to get her to see his side. Because he knows, at that moment, he knows when another man's hands are going to be on her in a pleasurable way, that if he explodes or if he drives her away, there's a chance that sex may actually happen. Because he's an 87. Being passive-aggressive, it's that indirect expression of anger. You're going to find that in every textbook definition. Indirect expression of anger. And you see it every day if you go to work. Hell, you may be married to someone that is passive-aggressive. I was, and it sucked. Passive-aggressive behavior or passive-aggressive comments or actions, they are straight up designed to upset or even hurt you. Not in an obvious way, though. This is on the sly. It's like gaslighting anyway. This is so the person can easily deny that they've done anything wrong. I think Lorne does that quite a bit. He does his bullshit. They call him on it and like, I never did that. No, I never did that. You're lying. He has never learned how to deal with conflict. It's either rage or passive aggressive or hang up the phone. I don't think he's ever had a proper education on how to communicate with other people. Again, probation and parole, please help this man. Please send him to some kind of effective communication class so that he can try to have some kind of real friendships and relationships. The good thing is, there are ways to make these passive-aggressive people see their behavior. Maybe actually think about it. But it has to be through effective communication. The way to handle them is not to call him out in front of a bunch of people. The problem with not calling Lorne out in front of a bunch of people is his dream scenario is to have you isolated one-on-one, so he can try to manipulate you, and you're really not going to get anywhere with him. I don't think you can get anywhere with him in front of a group. I mean, this is Lorne we're talking about, so maybe he's not the best example of this, but we're going to keep going. Talk to him privately. Talk to him about this behavior. You have to talk to him. You have to explain it. You have to explain how it makes you feel and that you won't tolerate it anymore. You don't have to be firm, but you have to be clear. Immediately, you want to set boundaries. This is to protect you from not just the one person. You're setting them for yourselves. So maybe for all passive-aggressive people, the ones that you can realistically manage, there are going to be some people who take it to a how, not that full. But you're just going to have to deal with that until you can figure out how to handle that situation specifically. You either deal with people like this, you either accept the fact that it's how they are, or you do what I say about a lot of other things and you just get them out of your life. Avoid them at all costs. If you have to speak with them, speak with them. But the problem with these passive-aggressive douchebags is that if you don't speak with them for a while and you go back and speak with them, they're going to be passive-aggressive about, haven't heard from you in a while. Yeah, They're going to be passive-aggressive about not hearing from you. So you've just allowed them back in your life. Cut them out of your life. If you're at work and you're dealing with it, only speak to them in a professional capacity. And if you have to, pull them aside, speak to them privately. You can definitely say it there. It does not promote a healthy work environment. Your behavior does not promote a healthy professional relationship, you'd have a little bit of an advantage there. But outside in your personal life, you have to make them see it, and they have to stop. Whenever you speak to a passive-aggressive person, you have to use I. I feel, I see, I don't understand. Make sure you identify that it's you clearly to that individual. I don't know why this helps, but whenever you're dealing with a difficult person, it's almost like they see you as a real person because you are saying I. But if you were to say things like, your behavior could be misconstrued as, you want to say, the way I see your behavior. And you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but the way I see it is, you're now speaking directly at them. I know I'm not speaking to elementary school students. I'm trying to make a point here because it's so important to say I when you're talking to these people. You have to be honest when you're trying to communicate with them. Brutally honest. You can't dance around it because that's what these people are doing. They're dancing around it. They're talking to you indirectly, trying to piss you off or gaslight you. So you have to be direct because they will not be. So like I was saying before, you might want to come up to them, whatever the issue, and you could say, I may be wrong, but it seems like you're upset about whatever it is. Then you can say, do you want to talk about it? Would it help if we talked about it? Would you feel better if we talked about it? You have to be specific. These people are the masters of twisting your words. You know, technicalities. If you speak too vaguely or generally, they're going to try to twist your words. They're going to try to focus on something that you've said and use it in a way that definitely was not your intent. You know, sometimes when I'm doing this, I do this. And they go, see, sometimes. Not all the time, sometimes. And they just pick and choose little bits of what you say. Who does that sound like? Lorne Armstrong. He only hears what he wants to hear. Think of this douchebag and the way he says, well, I didn't hear you deny it. I mean, that's a technicality to him, but it's a big deal. He knows he can use that to try to attack you. I just don't understand how you could live this way. We talked about this before. The last thing you want to do when you're talking to somebody is say always, constantly. I say it with Lorne because I dislike him. But if I'm talking to somebody and I want to have a real conversation, I'm not going to say constantly or always. I will say sometimes or that one time. I'll give a specific example. Because if you say always, if you say constantly, that's being aggressive. And remember, you're trying to have effective communication, honest communication with this person. You want to get specific. You want to give them something that you can talk about rather than generalizations of behavior. Lorne does not like specifics. He doesn't want to talk about things. Well, I can't remember that. That's not what I said. He'll do anything to not speak. To not speak about a specific instance, a specific action that he did. He would rather talk generally. I mean, we're all sitting around with bowls of sugar in front of us, and everyone else is a pedo because they're criticizing him for being a pedo. One of the worst things you can do, and I think Lorne believes this when he hangs up the phone, is the silent treatment. It is the worst way that you can deal with somebody. It just causes too much tension. You're not able to communicate. You can't tell them why you're upset. You just don't talk to them. Now, you have to understand that when you read cases or you do studies or you're dealing with somebody and you kind of observe from afar, if someone gives a passive-aggressive person the silent treatment, it's going to increase tenfold. Their behavior is going to get worse because they know what they've done. They know you are now punishing them most likely. They know you are avoiding them. So like I said before, well, you avoiding me? Yeah, well, Lorne, yeah, well, you were kind of an asshole to me yesterday. You didn't call me. We only talked for 2 hours, In his head, that's a huge slight. You did not talk to me. Why didn't you talk to me? I'm important. Concentrate on me, please. If they give you the silent treatment, you have to get them to at least acknowledge they're pissed off, that they're angry. Because passive-aggressive people, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Straight up tell them, from what I can see, you seem to be pretty upset right now. When you do what you're doing, I don't feel like you care about me or my feelings. Is that true? You're being dismissive of me, and that's hurtful, and I don't like when I feel that way. Then you try to draw it out of them. You keep trying to draw out what's making them angry or upset, but they will hold that over your head. That's a weapon to them. They can just keep that from you. Lorne loves to withhold information when he can, because once he gives that information out, he doesn't have that power out. He teases you with the information. Like Casey, when she's like, will you just spit it out? He doesn't like to do that. He wants to make you guess. He wants to keep you on edge. You have to get people like him to speak plainly and communicate to you what the real problem is. Remember the I statements, because once you go to you statements, once you start telling them, you made me mad, when you threw the cup, they're going to shut down. Because what you want to say is, I felt scared, and I didn't understand what was going on when you picked up the cup and slammed it against the wall. I felt like you weren't telling me what's going on, and it made me uncomfortable. Because God knows if you blame Lorne Armstrong, yeah, well, you made me do it. One way to deal with them, another way to deal with them, is just stay positive. Happiness is the best revenge. You don't give them what they want. You don't name call. You don't yell at them. You don't get angry at them. Just stay positive. It drives them crazy. You also now have a beautiful environment where their actions will be highlighted, because your actions, they don't exist. You're just happy. They're going to be looking for technicalities in the words that you say. But you're happy. You're living a positive life. They're over there stewing, doing shit that's going to piss anyone off that has to deal with them. They will see, hopefully, that they are the reason for all of the tension in the room. If you have to have a conversation with these people, you want to steer it in the right direction. You want to move it in a positive direction. Or if you're not making any headway, just tell them you'll talk to them later. But if you are making headway and you're moving that peg up one spot, if you can just get them to talk about the smallest emotion and why they're doing what they're doing, you're going to win. Although with Lorne, I'm not really sure if that would even work, because he doesn't like to talk about his emotions unless it's going to get him somewhere. This is so important. You can't be upset or angry when you talk to them. It's like a kid in a candy store for them. They know they can get what they want. They know that they can make you more angry. They know that they can manipulate you so much easier. I don't know if Lorne's done this a whole lot, but when you're in that moment, when he's in that pocket, when he's angry but not to the point of boiling, I don't know if he's ever said it. He may have said it in a different word. Passive-aggressive people love to say, you're reading too much into it. You're telling you that you're misinterpreting the terrible behavior that they're displaying. And God forbid you mention the words passive-aggressive to someone who is passive-aggressive. What these people will do is they'll go out and find out what it means, exactly what it means. And they won't do it to learn about themselves. They'll do it to learn how to defend themselves, to twist your words around, to say, no, a passive-aggressive person would do this. Now, technically, I was doing this. You're just misunderstanding what I'm doing. You have to set limits. You have to set boundaries. You can't be lenient, because once they step across the line, habitual line stepper, once they step across that line, it's like a rubber band. They're going to keep stretching and stretching and stretching until it snaps. And when it gets to that point, both of you are suffering. That relationship is gone. You can never let it get that far. Passive aggressiveness is abuse, a form of abuse. If you both like some kind of beverage and that person is going in there and drinking right out of the bottle, right out of the jug, then you can say to them, look, I'm not going to tolerate this. If you drink out of it again, I will not buy it next time. When we have a dinner, if you're late for it again, I'm going to go ahead and eat without you. You have to set your limits. Another way to help deal with it is a little espionage. Talking to their family, the siblings, the mom and dad talking to their friends, bringing it up and saying, yeah, sometimes I think I drive her crazy. I just wish I knew what made her upset or angry. I definitely wouldn't do it. Sometimes they'll tell you, oh, she hates it when this happens, or she hates it when that happens, or he, you know what I'm saying. But you have to kind of dig. Someone else may know what triggers them if you can't figure out what it is. With people like Lorne, you have to be assertive and not aggressive. Being aggressive with someone who wants you to be angry, who wants to get in the pocket, who wants to scream and yell, that's never going to work. But being assertive, you can show a desire to collaborate. You can show a desire to work things out for both of you. And you can use that terminology and say, I really want to work on this for us. You know how he says, for us. You can tell them that you want to come to a compromise or a resolution that's beneficial for both of you. Lorne doesn't know what that is. Lorne only uses words as manipulation tactics. I'm going to change for you, for me, for us. This weird hallmark language that he uses. But in a real situation dealing with the Lorne, you have to sit him down and you have to explain to him, we're going to have to come to some kind of arrangement, some kind of answer to this problem that is going to benefit both of us. Something you also want to do is give those passive-aggressive people as little information as possible. Now, Lorne wouldn't accept that. He wants to know everything about you. He wants to know when you're farting, when you're taking a sip of water, who you're talking to, how long you're talking to them. But the less information you give a guy like Lorne at work or in a social setting, the better. You don't want to give them ammunition. Yeah, well, Lorne remembers those little things that you say from a long time ago. You told me that could work. When he's telling Ramona something she said 6 months ago. These passive-aggressive people, they remember the information that they can use against you, that they can bring up again and get mad about. I've seen several couples where one cheated on the other, but they stayed together for the kids. That never went away. It could have been 12 years ago, and it's still going to come up. Like Lorne, bringing up Paula. They didn't have a relationship, but he would bring up Paula. My past, I'm like this because of that. So people like Lorne, they would take whatever information you gave them, they twist it around, and now if you said you were bipolar, these passive-aggressive people were like, guess you didn't take your medication today. Have you taken your medication? I'm concerned about you. That's their way of saying, haha, I got you angry, or something to that extent. Lorne Armstrong is a gatherer, so you can't give him any information. Now, I know that's difficult because if you're in a situation where the person is asking you questions and you have to look at them and it's awkward and you say, I don't really feel comfortable asking that. That's going to tick Lorne Armstrong off. Well, why does it make you angry? And boom, the passive-aggressive is going to come in. He's going to try to start an argument. He's going to do it in a way to make you feel uncomfortable and make him feel like he's in power. So, to really finish them off, you have to tell them, you have to make it plain, you have to make it clear that there are consequences for their actions. Lorne, I will hang up the phone and I will not speak to you for a week. Now, what's Lorne going to do? Well, yeah, that's probably because you're going to be speaking with the doctor. These jerkwads, denial, they'll make excuses, and they always do finger pointing. This is Lorne. Yeah, well, you. Yeah, well, you. That is completely Lorne. Try to make multiple consequences at the same time. Because you just give them one, they'll try to circumvent it. But these assholes will also ask themselves, do I really care about that consequence? If you give them the wrong consequence, they're going to keep doing it because they really don't care. Give them multiple consequences. Here's the hardest part when you're dealing with Lorne Armstrong. No matter what he says, no matter the screaming, the yelling, the denial, you have to make it clear, this is what I'm willing to do if this continues. And I will do this. This is not a threat. You don't have to say it's not a threat, it's a promise. That's aggressive. But you can say something to the extent of that's not a threat, it's a promise. This is what I am willing to do going forward. If you do not change your behavior, I'm going to leave the situation because I don't want to deal with it. And we know what happens when Lorne's given an ultimatum. You can't talk to the catfish woman anymore. Oh, I'm going to change, I'm ready to listen now. Because Lorne is a child, because he is an 87, you're going to have to give him positive reinforcement. And I know that nobody in a relationship wants to feel like they have to give their partner positive reinforcement. But with Lorne, if you were stupid enough to be in a relationship with him, you would have to give him positive reinforcement. If they ever step across the line in a good way and they say, I feel like you are doing this to make me whatever, that should be a moment that you should cherish, because then you could say, thank you so much for opening up to me. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you doing that. It helps a lot. Once you give that positive reinforcement, there's a good chance that the conversation can continue. Now, not every time these things are going to work themselves out. And not every time are you going to get a positive result. You may just end up dealing with the denial and the finger pointing. But if you can make progress over time and you're willing to do it, you really love this person or you care about them, that's all you can ask for. You could feel defeated and deflated by hanging around these people. So this is when you have to make a choice. Do I want to keep feeling like this? Have they made any progress? Do they even appear that they're trying to change? They love to say that you're overreacting, that you misread the situation. They like to be sarcastic, overly critical, and for a moment, Lorne Armstrong may appear to be complying with what it is that you told him you wanted him to do or you asked him to do. But that's a manipulation tactic, and we know he's going to step back across the line and do what Lorne wants. This is another sign. It's the moment he is raging at Ramona. So you can put his lips on yours? And he's freaking out because she's going out on a date. And Lorne is trying to set restrictions on what she can do, how she dressed. And then he's like, wear fat lady clothes. And there's a moment he realized he went too far. You trying to teach me how to dress, Lorne? I was just joking. Because that's what these idiots do. I was just joking. I'm not really mad. Lorne hates restrictions. So do passive-aggressive people. They don't like any kind of restrictions on their time. They hate authority figures. They procrastinate all the time. Lorne doesn't like people who are successful, and that's another trait. He does confront people, screaming and yelling, but that's when he's gone to the point of no return. So yeah, he does eventually confront people, which is what most passive-aggressive people do not do. But I think it's to the point where he just can't take the situation anymore. He's had too much to drink, and he goes full-on rage monster. So make sure you are not overreacting. Don't give them any ammunition whatsoever. Take a look at how much you're reading into their behavior. If you feel like you're being too critical, or maybe you are reading too much into the situation, then it's your time to dial it back. You never know what someone is dealing with, whether or not they have some underlying mental condition. So if they're dragging their feet on something, try not to take it personal. God, I need to work on that. I tend to take things personal sometimes, especially if I know the person is a passive-aggressive douchebag. See, frustration. I need to work on that. Put yourself in their shoes if you can. I try to. God knows I try. I told you sometimes, I try to put myself in Lorne's shoes and figure out why he did what he did and why he is the way he is. But it never works out. But try to put yourself in their shoes. Try to see things the way that they're seeing it and ask yourself, does it have any merit? Finally, trust your instincts. If you don't feel like they're making any progress, if you feel like they're affecting your life in a negative way, those two things are very important. They're not making progress and you feel exhausted and you feel deflated and defeated, it's time for you to move on. If you constantly feel hurt by their actions, it's time to move on if they're not making any progress or you just can't take it anymore. If you can't get them to express their needs and their feelings, and they are just expressing their anger indirectly, it may be time for you to move on. I just wanted to get this out there. I hope you guys have a good rest of the day. Sorry it's so long. I love you. I will see you in the next one.